Hello, everyone. I'm Blayne Gilmer. Welcome to Southeastern 14, the channel that covers all things SEC football related. Yes, all fall, whether it's game previews, game reactions, whether it's breaking down news that happens throughout the week, whether we're talking about interviewing people that are associated with programs, all and everything that you would want right here on Southeastern 14. We got it covered for you. So like, subscribe, turn on notifications if you enjoy SEC football. Also throughout the year covering SEC basketball and baseball. So it's all right here on Southeastern 14. But today it's about the all SEC teams that were voted upon by the media at 2023 SEC Media Days in Nashville. You know, once media days comes and goes, that the season is right around the corner, and that is certainly the case now as it has come and gone. And Georgia and LSU absolutely dominated the all-SEC teams that were selected. 11 first-team all-SEC selections for the Georgia Bulldogs, 5 on the offensive side, 6 on the defensive side. LSU with 6 overall. They had a couple on, they had 3 on offense and 3 on defense. So some balance there for LSU. But I talked about put out a video that's on our channel. You can go back and check it here. One of the more popular videos that we've done, that this defense could be Kirby Smart's greatest defense that he's had, even better than the 2021 defense. And I said that because of what they have on the back end in terms of being able to lock wide receivers down, and also the talent that they have at the linebacker position and the depth that they have up front. Yes, I say depth. Even after losing Jalen Carter, even after losing Nolan Smith, even after losing Bear Alexander, the transfer portal, they still have guys like Michael Williams, like Nazir Stackhouse, like both of those selected here as first team all SEC players. They also have guys that are key pieces that are going to be filling in there, weren't selected to a team, but guys like Warren Brinson and Zion Logue up front. The linebacker position, first team all SEC linebacker, Jamon Dumas Johnson at Georgia, that did great things in his first year as a starter last year. Now he's going to be, firmly entrenched. This is really more of a, hey, get ready to go to the NFL year for him. He's going to be draft eligible, but he's going to have guys around him, paired with him, like Smile Munden, who was also selected as a all-SEC player on the second team for Georgia. So Smile Munden is going to be right there with him. And then he's going to have guys like Xavier Sorey around him, a talented group of freshmen that has come in, people like CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson that can contribute. So Georgia is absolutely loaded on defense on those first 2 levels. But that secondary that I mentioned, being able to lock people down on the back end, you have Kamari Lassiter, who really, all the talk was about Keely Ringo last year with the play that he made, the year at the end of the 2021 historic season there, when he sealed it with the pick 6 against Bryce Young for Georgia to win their first national championship in 41 years. But really, Kamari Lassiter was probably the better corner in 2022, more consistent. He comes back. He's going to be that lockdown corner for Georgia, the guy that's going to take on the best receiver for the other team. That is Kamari Lassiter. Then you have Javon Bullard, who all he's done has been the MVP defensively of basically every college football playoff game that he's been a part of. He is all over the field, had a massive game against TCU, a couple picks, was MVP against Ohio State, was MVP, in one of those games the previous year. Javon Bullard is a guy who was under-recruited, undersized a little bit, but man, Georgia loved him all the way back from those high school days at Baldwin, when he would come down and just hit people like an absolute missile from the backfield. Now he's all over the place. Had a couple of big sacks in that Tennessee game last year. Javon Bullard playing that star position, being able to move around. He is very, very, very good for Georgia. And he's paired back with Malachi Starks, who did nothing but just burst onto the scene last year with an unbelievable interception against Oregon, and then didn't look back. A starter as a true freshman for a Georgia defense, a Kirby Smart defense. That says it all right there. So now he's in year 2. And when you talk about LSU, Jalen Daniels got the nod on the offensive side over KJ Jefferson. There was debate back and forth who would be the first team SEC quarterback. Jalen Daniels gets it. And listen, Jaden Daniels is a guy who not only did it with throwing the football, okay, in year 1 with Mike Denbrock and Brian Kelly, that offense, learning things after winning the job in fall camp, because remember, he was still competing, did not get rewarded that job till late in fall camp. Now he's the guy. And he's got another first-team All-SEC guy in Malik Neighbors with him, okay? And offensively, I don't know if you got a better combo there between those two. Will Campbell also makes it for LSU on the offensive side. So Will Campbell and Emory Jones Jr. both were true freshman tackles in the SEC a year ago. That's almost a death sentence when you say, hey, you tell a coach that you're going to have 2 true freshmen offensive tackles this year. They would probably look at you and just hang their head, because that does not bode well for you in the SEC. And listen, Jaden Daniels did get hit his fair share, got sacked a good bit for LSU, but they still, even with a young offensive line, even with it being year 1 in a new system for Jaden Daniels and him not winning the job till late, even with some receivers having to step into different roles and things like that last year, they exceeded all expectations and went to the SEC championship game, and now they return loaded for bear. They have the best wide receiving core, bar none, in the SEC. And Jaden Daniels is coming back, and he's going to make that jump from year 1 to year 2, understanding the system. Then they're going to get the running backs more involved and take a little bit off of Jaden's plate when it comes to running the football and taking a little bit less hits against those SEC defenses. So that was your first team offense for LSU. Still, Georgia, as I mentioned, had some more guys over here, 5 guys. You had Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers, and then 3 offensive linemen. Amarius Mims, who was kind of like a quasi-starter last year, the 6th guy that would rotate in at both the tackle positions for Georgia. Tate Ratledge, starting guard, and then Cedric Von Prawn, one of the better centers that has ever come through the University of Georgia. And that's saying a lot with guys like Ben Jones and David Andrews that have been there and have been now in the NFL for a long time. So Georgia and LSU absolutely dominated the first team. Alabama only had 3 first-team All-SEC players. You had J.C. Latham as offensive tackle, and then on the defensive side, they had Kool-Aid, McKinstry, and Dallas Turner. Does Alabama use that as, hey, we've been slighted a little bit, because they're certainly used to having more than that that they typically have, okay, on the offensive side and the defensive side. So maybe Saban uses that as a little motivation. Maybe he says to these guys, hey, these people writing about you and covering, they don't think you're any good. They don't think you're to the level of these guys. You got to go out and show them. Every coach looks for some kind of advantage and things like that. But when you go through and examine the rest of the second and third team and even some of the first team stuff, some of the things you see is running back wise on the offensive side, where is either Jalen Wright or Jabari Small? Because both had a tremendous year last year, and neither one is anywhere to be found in the first, second, or third team at running back. A Tennessee running back should be on this list, because a lot of people misconstrued about Josh Heupel. They think he's just throwing the football over the yard. No, they want to run and run it effectively. And boy, did they do so with Jalen Wright and Jabari Small. One of them deserved to be on this list. And, Joe Milton makes the list when he's not really done a whole lot of anything yet, and he's tied with Will Rogers. I don't understand what people are kind of thinking there. Will Rogers is a guy who can break pretty much every SEC record this year. Don't give me that's because he was in the air raid. He also faced way more defensive looks than everybody else. So Will Rogers probably, should have been alone in third there instead of tied with Joe Milton. There should have been a Tennessee running back on this list. So I think a lot of people just fall into narratives and don't pay as close of attention as they need to about what's actually going on in these offenses, in these schemes and things like that. Now, another snub over here is Kentucky. You don't see Tavion Robinson. You don't see Barrion Brown. You don't see Dane Key, or you don't see Devin Leary. And if we're going off potential, like they showed with Joe Milton at quarterback, well, then why not put Devin Leary in there? Because Devin Leary not only has the potential to be great with Liam Cohen being the offensive coordinator there, but he's also proven it at NC State, breaking Phillip Rivers' single-season records a couple years ago. I think Kentucky is being overlooked tremendously, but that's just the way that Mark Stoops and company like it over there. They're gonna take advantage of that. But Liam Cohen coming back, that is absolutely huge. And I think this all SEC team will look much different in the postseason and be littered with a lot more names in the postseason. Ray Davis could be one of them at running back. Mark Stoops has a lot of talent on that side of the ball. Of course, the first team running backs were Quinshot Judkins and Raheem Rocket Sanders. Those are the only two players that cracked the first team that weren't from Georgia, LSU, or Alabama. So it tells you that, hey, there still is that gap of, hey, who's recruiting at what level and what is the perception out there. But those two, you can't take anything away from. Both of them over 1,400 yards rushing last year, and Quinshot Judkins and Rocket Sanders, tremendously talented. And another thing I noticed is Missouri's getting a lot of love towards the second and third teams of this, especially on the defensive side. Guys got like Tyron Hopper, Chris Abrams-Drain, but I think they could get even more, because you're talking about Missouri has 9 returning starters on defense. They've got probably 10, 11 guys that are qualified as seniors on that side of the ball, depending on, with all the COVID, you can't keep track of what year, the COVID year and all that kind of stuff. But they are a very old group on the defensive side of the ball, have a lot of talent returning. I think high 80s in their defensive production returning. And I'm telling you, Missouri's going to be real salty on that defensive side of the ball. So I think that is something that you're going to see more of. Alabama and South Carolina absolutely dominate the specialist. Kai Kroger for South Carolina, the punter, first team, all punt team. Mitch Jeter for kickoffs. And then when you're talking about Alabama, place kicker, long snapper, and returner, and Will Reichert, Nealon Hibbett, and Kool-Aid McKinstry all go on the first team for the specialist. Anais Smith as a kind of all-purpose guy there with Texas A&M. So I think that when you look at this, one, does Alabama get some fuel from being just dominated in the voting here by Georgia and LSU? Do they use that as a little motivation there? Tennessee, people are not taking Tennessee's run game nearly as serious as they need. But I'm telling you, I think the big takeaway from this is, like I said, this could be Kirby Smart's best defense out there. And people are taking notice here saying, hey, 3 defensive backs that are absolutely studs. And then you add Jamon Dumas-Johnson at the linebacker level. Smile Munden was second team. And then you have Nazir Stackhouse and Michael Williams up front. You pair that with all the 5 guys that made it on the offensive side. Georgia is going to be, there's a reason that Vegas has them as a plus 220 favorite and a heavy favorite to repeat, to win a third straight national championship. Will we see more Kentucky names on this list afterwards? Will people give Tennessee running backs the respect they deserve? Does KJ Jefferson surpass Jaden Daniels? Because I think KJ Jefferson with Dan Enos could have a great year there for Arkansas. Lots of interesting things. I'm Blayne Gilmer. This is Southeastern 14. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let us know your thoughts on the All-SEC team as voted upon by the media in 2023. And we will keep you posted on all things SEC football right here. So like I said, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and we'll see you guys next time here on Southeastern 14.